Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the B2B Pipeline Pioneers with your favorite guest host, me, Ariana Shannon, Brand Marketing Director here at SalesIntel, with another amazing leader that's going to talk to us about creating pipeline. Because again, pipeline generation is a team sport. It's not just up to sales, to marketing, to product, to anyone out there. It takes all of us working together towards a common goal to build that pipeline and see the impact. Today with me, I have Alexine, the CEO of Women in Sales. Alexine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much. So let's go ahead and get kickstarted. Tell us a little bit more about your role and how it helps contribute to building pipeline.
Absolutely. So my name is Alexine Mudawar. I am CEO of Women in Sales. We are the largest growing global organization for women in the field of sales globally. So continuing to just provide resources, events, content, strategies for women to better arm them and serve them in their sales career. Ultimately, we'd love to see more women come into the field of sales, but of course, we'd love to see them stay in careers in sales long term and see them get promoted over time. So that's a big goal for us. And as I think about pipeline, I spent 10 plus years in the enterprise sales world as an individual contributor. And so I definitely did a lot of prospecting over that 10 years. What's interesting is now that I moved into my CEO role at Women in Sales, hasn't changed that much. I'm still prospecting. I still have net new calls every single week and still building pipeline. It just looks a little bit different because we're really focused on partnerships and working with really great companies.
Gotcha. So we really haven't gotten too far away from the hustle and the grind of still being a boots on the ground, which is great, especially for all of our leaders out there. But tell me a little bit more about last year. It was a troubling time for everyone, whatever cliche you want to use, unprecedented times, a time of scarcity. It was tough. Any way you slice it, it was tough for a lot of organizations. What was the biggest challenge that you faced?
Honestly, I think the biggest challenge that I personally faced was a mindset challenge. I think it's really hard when you're around a lot of doom and gloom, and it was on social, it was in conversations behind the scenes. The reality of the situation for our organization didn't necessarily match what I was hearing out there. We actually had a really successful partnerships year. We brought on a lot of really incredible companies. We renewed with organizations that we'd worked with for multiple years in a row. And so I was hearing a lot of really negative stuff, but then not necessarily like seeing that hit my business directly. So it was a little bit of a mind game, I think, last year, if I had to really classify it. And so I think I spent a lot of the year waiting for the other shoe to drop and thinking like something catastrophic was going to happen. But it just goes to the fact of making sure that you're taking care of your people, being good to your customers, making sure that they're constantly being taken care of. And when you do that, there's a system of reciprocity that just takes care of things in the end. So I don't know. I think I have a bit more optimistic outlook on last year, probably compared to everyone else out there.
No, well, I mean, you're not alone because there's some businesses that can thrive in that situation. I know when the pandemic had hit SalesIntel, we actually saw a bump because more people needed information. So, like, different economics times, different events can and impact businesses differently. But tell us a little bit more about that mindset shift. Was that internally with your team, like getting them out of their heads, or was that working with the organizations that you were trying to work with of, hey, we actually can be doing things together and we should be doing things together? Which side of that was that on?
I think there were two sides. There was internal dialogue with myself as CEO and founder. I think trying to better equip myself, especially that was my first full year as a CEO without working full time as an AE alongside that. So there was a lot of just internal hoops I was jumping through at all times and dialogue that was happening within my own head. And a lot of reminding myself, like, hey, these are organizations that are choosing to work with us. They've worked with us over and over. We're taking care of them. We're checking in with them. We're doing everything that we have set out to do. We are executing on agreements that we put out there. So just kind of getting more trusting with myself, I think, was a big piece of last year, to be honest. And then the other side was definitely working with organizations. Some of them were at different growth stages. We have some companies who are smaller organizations. We have some that are, enterprise size at this point that work with women in sales. And so just really aligning with them and understanding like, okay, things are happening right now. The market is a little uneasy for every company. Things looked a little different last year. So understanding like, what are your goals, and not necessarily just focusing on like the here and now, but where are you trying to be next year? What are we thinking about for the future? Because you know, things always turn around. This glass always flips back over. And so while we're really scared in certain moments and the market's showing really bad indicators, what happens 6 months from now when things turn around? We can't just start strategizing then. We have to lay the groundwork ahead of time. So we did a lot of kind of like future forecasting and talking about goals and figuring out what was meaningful. And then it was really fun to kind of watch those things come to fruition then.
Good. So then we've looked behind. Now let's shift and look ahead. Of those strategies and the things that you had put together, what has been working well for you? What are you experimenting with in this year?
Yeah, I mean, everything about my role right now, there's a lot of testing that goes into it. So, you know, women in sales, again, we have a community-based model, but our consumer, our customer, if you will, is both the community member, but also the organizations that we're partnering with and selling to. And so there's a lot of balance that goes into that. And it's a really delicate balance. But I think as we think ahead, we're listening to our community members a lot. What's working for them? What are they thinking about? What are they struggling with? And like, what are the areas that they need support in? And that's actually guiding our strategy. It's helping us decide what platforms we roll out, what programs that we're going to go live with, what technology we need to have in place. And so that really guides a lot of the strategy for us. And then that carries over to our partners and customers as well, because they're also trying to keep an ear to the ground. And if, for example, if we know that there are a lot of women that are looking for sales roles and they are also struggling with diversity in their own teams, then how do we kind of bridge the gap between those two? And there's a lot of ways that we can do that. So yeah, I mean, I feel optimistic about the future. I'm excited about some of the things that we're testing, and certainly not everything that you test is going to be successful. And that's been the case for us too. But I would say we're getting a lot better because we're keeping a really close ear to the ground with our community members. I feel like we're on the right track with a lot of things that we're rolling out for them.
Fantastic. Yeah, a lot of active listening and really caring about your consumer or the people that you're supporting in your community and giving them more of what they want and what's truly best for them in that regard. So awesome. Let's now shift into everyone's favorite exercise. Alexine, are you ready? It's time for the 100 pennies game.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, Alexine. So you have 100 pennies. I know you could wish for more pennies, but please don't ask me. I have no more pennies to give. You only get 100 pennies to spend in 10-cent increments. And this is a way of helping to communicate with us. What channels are you using to build pipeline? How are you more or less putting together your go-to-market strategy and telling us where you're investing your time in? So, Alexine, I have to ask you, where are you spending your pennies?
Yes. So I think our model is going to be different probably than some of the other ones you've heard. I would put 5 pennies right away into the partnership led growth side. And I would put, I love this in real time here. I would put 2 into the community led growth.
Okay.
And 1 into the event-led growth strategy. That's been something that's been really successful for us. So we're going to continue to double down on that. And then I'd put 1 and 1 on brand and founder-led growth, because right now we're pretty scrappy. And so everything that I do, every move that I make is something that has to benefit the business, has to benefit the members. And of course, with that comes our brand, not only me as an individual, but also our organization as a whole. So yeah, I think this is where all my pennies went.
Gotcha. And then go ahead and give us a little bit more on the delineation between your community and your partnership, because obviously Women in Sales is a community model. You have, as you stated before, you have your individuals, and then you have the businesses that yeah, the businesses that are your sponsors. But how do you slice that down into the efforts that you're actually, and the initiatives that you're putting together?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to understanding what our model is. And so for Women in Sales, we flipped the traditional membership model on its head. Traditionally, you make your money off the members. And that's where, they pay some kind of nominal annual fee. That's pays for their membership. We went the other direction. We said that we believe that if companies are truly committed to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and want to see more women on their teams, they should be the ones to actually fund the education and the learning for these women. So we are using partnerships as a way to offset the cost of membership to thousands of women now. And so that's why I lean more heavily in the partnership side. It's really critical and important for us to find the right organizations to actually work with, who are committed to change, who want to work with us. Some of these organizations are volunteering their own time to do different sessions. DocuSign, for example, they're doing a resume workshop for our members tomorrow. Those are really valuable, and it's something that is going to serve our members well. And then, of course, within that, I still want to spend time and attention to our community members themselves, because again, they're the ones that are guiding a lot of the strategy in the future and where we're headed. So I think there's a balance between the two, but because of how we chose to monetize and how we chose to go to market with our strategy, which we're very public about, we have to lean very heavily on partnerships.
No, and that makes sense because it also leans into the authenticity of the community that you're trying to create and really how you're kind of stating yourself. So living your mission within not only your go-to-market, but then how you're talking about that as well. So interesting. Love that. Now, let's see how your bets stack up against where other pioneers were saying that they were placing their bets back in 2023. All right, so this is the industry benchmark, Alexine. We've got a lot of people going into sales. Surprise, surprise, at the end of the year, that's where a lot of people were looking at. But now let's map yours against the community. When you see this on a graph, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
We're running a very different play than a lot of organizations in our space. Yeah.
True.
But I'm actually, yeah, I can expand on that too. I think it's interesting to see it in a graphic format. It's not surprising to me because I understand our strategy and I know why we're doing the things that we're doing. But it is interesting to see how different it is. I think it would also be different if we were selling like a SaaS solution. Probably these lines would flip flop a little bit, but because of our model, because of what we're focused on, this makes a lot of sense to me. But it is kind of funny that it's the inverse of what we see here.
And that's why building pipeline is so difficult, because there's not just one formula of do this, do that, and then voila, you're like, got so much pipeline, you don't know what to do with it. Different different models, different ways of building pipeline and going to market. And that's exactly why we host this show. So Alexine, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your perspectives and where you are spending your pennies.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.